For a long moment, Jungkook was silent, his eyes searching hers as if he was trying to find something he had lost. Finally, he let out a deep breath, his shoulders sagging. I don't know how to let go of it. Why? It haunts me every day. Wine leaned in, resting her forehead against his. Then let me help you, she whispered. We can get through this together. You're not alone anymore, Jungkook. I'm here for you. Jungkook closed his eyes, his breath warm against her skin. I'm afraid, Wine, he admitted, his voice trembling. I'm afraid of losing you too. You won't lose me. Wine replied firmly, cupping his face in her hands. I'm not going anywhere. We will figure this out together. Jungkook opened his eyes, his gaze softening as he looked at her. Why do you care so much about me? He asked, his voice tinged with vulnerability. Wine smiled gently, brushing a stray lock of hair from his forehead. Because I see the good in you, Jungkook. I see the man you're trying to be, and I believe in him. I believe in us. Jungkook's eyes filled with emotion as he pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly against his chest. Thank you, Wine, he murmured into the ear. Thank you for not giving up on me. I never will, Wine whispered back, her heart swelling with love for him. They stayed like that for a while, wrapped in each other's embrace, letting the silence speak for them. It was a moment of connection, of understanding, and Wine knew that despite the darkness of Jungkook's past, they could build a future together. Later that day, while Joonie was playing in the garden, Jungkook and Wine sat together on the patio sipping coffee and talking about the future. I have been thinking, Jungkook began his tone thoughtful. Maybe we could get away for a while, just the three of us, somewhere quiet where we can focus on each other and figure things out. Wine looked at him, surprised by the suggestion. Do you think that's a good idea? She asked, with everything that's happened. Jungkook nodded slowly. I do. We need time to heal. Wine, and I want Joonie to be happy, to have both of us with him. I want us to be a family. The word family sent a warm feeling through Wine's chest, and she smiled. I did like that too, she admitted, but we need to take things one step at a time. We can't just run away from our problems. I know, Jungkook agreed, but I think a fresh start could help us. We have both been through so much. Maybe it's time to find some peace. Wine reached out, squeezing his hand. Then let's do it, she said. Let's find that peace together. Jungkook smiled, a rare and genuine smile that made Wine's heart flutter. Thank you, Wine. I don't know what I do with it too. You didn't have to worry about that, Wine replied, returning his smile. Because I'm not going anywhere. As they sat there watching Joonie play in the garden, Wine felt a sense of hope that she had not felt in a long time. They still had a long way to go, but for the first time she believed that they could overcome the darkness of the past and build a future filled with love and happiness. But as the days went by, Wine noticed that Jungkook's possessiveness hadn't completely faded. He still watched her closely, still held her a little too tightly, as if he was afraid she would slip away. And every now and then she saw a flicker of the darkness in his eyes, a reminder of the man he once was. One evening, after putting Joonie to bed, Jungkook cornered Wine in the hallway, his expression intense. You're mine, Wine, he said, his voice low and filled with determination. I need you to understand that I can't lose you. Wine looked up at him, her heart pounding in her chest. I'm here, Jungkook. I'm not going anywhere. She reassured him, but his grip on her arm tightened. Promise me, he demanded, his eyes boring into hers. Promise me you will never leave. I promise. Wine replied, her voice soft but firm. But you have to trust me, Jungkook. You have to trust that I'm here because I want to be, not because you are forcing me. Jungkook's expression softened and he let out a shaky breath. I'm trying, but it's hard. I have lost so much. I don't know how to let go of this fear. We will work on it together. Wine said, reaching up to cup his face in her hands. One step at a time, remember? Jungkook nodded, leaning into her touch. You're right. I don't want to scare you. Wine, I love you so much. I love you too, Jungkook. Wine whispered, standing on her tiptoes to press a soft kiss to his lips. We will figure this out. We will find our way. As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, Wine felt a renewed sense of determination. She knew that their journey wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to face it head on alongside the man she loved. Over the next few weeks, Chogo gradually began to open up more, sharing his fears and insecurities with Vine. There were moments of tension, of possessiveness that flared up unexpectedly, but Vine handled them with patience and understanding. She knew that it would take time for Jungkook to fully trust her, to let go of the past, but she was willing to be there for him every step of the way. The relationship continued to deepen as they spent more time together, both with Joonie and alone. Jungkook's dark past still loomed over them, but it no longer held the same power. They were building something new, something stronger, and Y knew that with love and patience they could overcome anything. One night, as they lay in bed together, Wine turned to Jungkook, resting her head on his chest. Do you ever think about the future? She asked softly. Jungkook ran his fingers through her hair, his touch gentle. All the time, he admitted, but it's different now. When I think about the future, I see you and Joonie by my side. I see us building a life together. Wine smiled, her heart swelling with happiness. That's exactly what I see too. She said, her voice filled with warmth. Jungkook kissed the top of her head, holding her close. I never thought I'd have this. Wine, I never thought I'd be able to love someone again. You deserve to be loved, Jungkook, Wine whispered, her hand resting over his heart, and I'm going to make sure you never forget that. As they drifted off to sleep, Wine felt a sense of contentment that she hadn't felt in a long time. The road ahead would be challenging, but she knew that as long as they faced it together, they could overcome anything. She had found her home in Chongku, and she was determined to stay by his side. No matter what, in the months following their deepening relationship, life settled into a comfortable routine for Jungkook. Wine and Joonie adored Wine, often clinging to her side and eagerly sharing stories about his day. The little boy had become the glue that bonded them all together, his innocent charm melting even the hardest edges of Jungkook's past. One sunny afternoon, Wine sat in the living room, helping Joonie with his coloring book. The boy's face lit up with concentration as he carefully colored within the lines. Wine, look, Joonie exclaimed, holding up his masterpiece. I made this for you. One exclaimed warmly, taking the colorful picture from his small hands. It's beautiful, Joonie. You did such a great job. Joonie beamed with pride, his eyes shining. I'm going to be an artist when I grow up. Daddy says I'm really good at it. I think you will be the best artist ever. Wine replied, ruffling his hair affectionately. Jungkook walked into the room, catching sight of the two of them together. He couldn't help but smile at the sight. Wine and Junie had grown so close, and seeing them together filled his heart with a warmth he had never known before. Hey, what are you two up to? Jungkook asked, leaning against the door frame with a playful grin. We are making art, Junie announced proudly, holding up his picture for Jungkook to see. Jungkook chuckled, walking over to kneel beside them. That's amazing, buddy. You are getting better day by day. Junie giggled, throwing his arms around Jungkook's neck in a tight hug. Daddy, Wine says I'm going to be the best artist ever. Jungkook hugged him back, pressing a kiss to his son's head. She's right, you are already a little genius. Wine watched the two of them, her heart swelling with love. Moments like these make her feel like she had finally found her place in the world, a place where she was needed and loved. As the years passed, their bond only grew stronger. Wine and Jungkook faced challenges together, but with each obstacle, their love deepened. Joonie continued to flourish, his boundless energy and infectious laughter filling their home with joy. One evening, as Wine prepared dinner in the kitchen, Joonie came running in, his face glowing with excitement. Mom, I have a secret to tell you. Wine turned to him, playfully narrowing her eyes. Oh, what's the secret, little one? Joonie leaned in close, his voice dropping to a whisper. Daddy says he has a surprise for you after dinner, but don't tell him I told you. Wine chuckled, placing a finger to her lips. Your secret's safe with me, Joonie. After dinner, as they gathered in the living room, Jungkook cleared his throat. Drawing Wine's attention, he seemed a bit nervous, which was unusual for him. Wine, there is something I want to share with you. Jungkook began, his eyes melting her, something that I have been keeping to myself for a while now. Wine's heart raced, wondering what he could be about to say. What is it, Jungkook? He took a deep breath and smiled softly. We're going to have a baby. Wine, you're pregnant. Wine's eyes widened in shock, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach. Pregnant? She repeated, her voice trembling with emotion. Jungkook nodded, his smile growing. Yes, Wine, we're going to have a baby. Tears filled Wine's eyes as the realization sank in. She was going to be a mother to Jungkook's child. The joy that welled up inside her was overwhelming, and she threw her arms around him, laughing and crying at the same time. I can't believe it. Wine whispered against his chest, we're going to have a baby. Joonie, who had been listening intently, jumped up with excitement. I'm going to be a big brother. Wine laughed, lifting Joonie into his arms. That's right, buddy. You are going to be the best big brother ever. Joonie's face lit up with pure happiness. I will take care of the baby and I will teach them how to draw and we will play together every day. Wine smiled through her tears, reaching out to ruffle Junie's hair. You are going to be an amazing big brother, Junie. The baby is so lucky to have you. As the months passed, Wine's pregnancy brought even more joy to their lives. Jungkook was fiercely protective of her, always making sure she was comfortable and cared for. He would often place his hand on her growing belly, talking softly to the baby and imagining what their life would be like once the little one arrived. One evening, as they lay in bed, Jungkook wrapped his arms around Vine, resting his hand on her belly. I'm so glad we are having this baby together, he whispered. It feels like everything is finally falling into place. One smile, leaning her head against her chest. I'm glad too, Jungkook. We have come so far, and I wouldn't want to be on this journey with alone anyone else. Jungkook kissed the top of her head, his heart swelling with love. You have made me a better man, Vine. I don't know what I'd do without you. You don't have to worry about that, Vine replied, her voice filled with warmth, because I'm not going anywhere. We are in this together now and forever. When their baby girl was finally born, Juni was ecstatic to meet his new sister. He insisted on helping with everything, from changing diapers to singing lullabies. Jungkook and Vine's heart overflowed with love, so they watched their two children bond. Knowing that their family was now complete, years later, as Vine and Jungkook sat together on the porch, watching the children play in the yard, they couldn't help but feel grateful. Despite the challenges they had faced, they had found their way to happiness together. Jungkook reached over, taking Vine's hand in his. We have come a long way, have not we? He said softly, Vine smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. We have, and I wouldn't change a single moment of it. As they watched their children laugh and play, Jungkook and Vine knew that they had finally found the peace and happiness they had both been searching for. Their journey had been difficult, but it had led them to a place of love, trust, and a future filled with endless possibilities.